Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide. A reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that the winter solstice is the only day of the year with the fewest hours of sunlight? Look back with us on the winter solstice of 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn looked like a double planet, not seen since the Middle Ages, and formed a rare phenomenon known as a Christmas star.
If you were watching the sky back in late 2020, you saw something. Well, something truly remarkable.
Oh, absolutely. One of those once-in-a-lifetime events.
Exactly. On the day of the winter solstice, the two biggest planets in our solar system, Jupiter and Saturn, they just seemed to merge in the sky.
Right. It was dubbed the Christmas star, a beautiful name for it.
It was. And it was an alignment so precise, so close, that you have to rewind the clock nearly 800 years to find anything like it.
It's an incredible thought.
So for this deep dive, we're pulling up the source material, articles on orbital mechanics, astronomical research, to really understand what was going on that day.
There were two things happening at once. Two celestial clocks.
Right. Our mission is to analyze both. First, the Earth's annual tilt, which gives us the solstice. And second, that slow 800-year rhythm of the outer planets that gave us the Great Conjunction.
And how they came together on that one day.
Okay, so there's a lot going on there. Let's unpack that.
Let's start.
Let's start with the foundation, the winter solstice itself.
That's right. Before we even get to the giant planets, we have to talk about our own planet and that precise moment it hits its maximum tilt away from the sun.
Which we all know is the shortest day of the year.
The shortest day, yeah. For the Northern Hemisphere, the winter solstice is the astronomical first day of winter. But for an informed observer, it's really about the mechanics.
It's the physics of it, that 23.5-degree axial tilt.
That tilt is everything, isn't it?
It really is. Without it, no seasons, no solstice, nothing. I'm always just blown away by how many ancient cultures figured this out.
Without modern instruments, yeah.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
They keyed into that exact moment the sun seemed to, just reverse its course in the sky.
And that's exactly what it is. The solstice is that precise astronomical moment when the overhead sun hits its absolute southernmost point.
Which is, geometrically speaking.
Geometrically, that's over the Tropic of Capricorn. Sits about 23.5 degrees south of the equator. That exact moment is what defines it.
And of course, the opposite is happening in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right. For them, it's the summer solstice, their longest day of the year.
I think the language we use for it, and the word itself, helps you grasp what's happening.
It really does. If you look at the origin, the word solstice comes from Latin.
Sol for sun.
Sol for sun and sister, which means to stand still.
The sun standing still. It's poetic, but it's also literal.
It's literally what's happening. So when our sources talk about the sun standing still, they aren't just being poetic. They're describing the physics of what we see from Earth.
So what does that look like from our perspective?
Well, during that moment, the angle between the sun's rays and the plane of the Earth's equator, it appears to just halt its movement. It stops moving north or south.
And the result?
The result is that the sun appears at its absolute lowest point in the sky for the entire year. It is a moment of astronomical pause.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, that pause is what makes it so powerful culturally.
Exactly. You hit that lowest point, that darkest day, and then immediately the days start getting longer again.
The return of the light.
It's always been seen as a time of deep significance, a rebirth of the sun. From that point on, the hours of sunlight just steadily increase all the way until the summer solstice.
Where you get, 14, 16 hours of daylight, depending on where you are?
Or even more. It's that annual rhythm of life, all dictated by that constant, predictable 23.5-degree lean.
Okay, so that's Earth's annual clock. But what made 2020 so special wasn't just our rhythm. It was the fact that outer planets kind of decided to join the party at the exact same time.
That is the real narrative here. You have this fast annual cycle of the solstice, and it lines up perfectly with this unbelievably slow, massive cycle of the Great Conjunction.
We have to shift focus then. Let's talk about that spectacle, the Great Conjunction. We're talking about Jupiter and Saturn.
We're talking about the two true giants of our solar system. The source material describes how, if you looked up right after sunset on the solstice, you would have seen these two massive planets appearing so close together.
Right.
They look like a single, brilliant, double planet. But the key word here is appearing.
And that is a huge distinction because someone listening might be imagining some kind of interstellar collision.
Right, a near miss.
Yeah.
But they weren't physically close at all. They were visually aligned from our perspective here on Earth.
So this is all about perspective.
Completely. Conjunctions are all about visual perspective. I mean, Jupiter and Saturn are orbiting the sun at these massive distances from each other and from us.
And what drives this cycle is just their different speeds.
They're differing orbital speeds, exactly. Jupiter is faster. It takes about 12 years to go around the sun once.
And Saturn?
Saturn is much slower. It takes nearly 30 years.
So because they're on this cosmic racetrack at different speeds, Jupiter just periodically catches up to and passes Saturn.
Every 2 decades or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Our sources, citing astronomer Patrick Hartigan, confirm that these alignments happen about once every 20 years.
And that's why it's called the Great Conjunction.
Because it involves the 2 largest planets. But, and this is the key, while 20-year conjunctions are rare, the 2020 event was exceptionally rare.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the question a listener is going to have is, if they align every 20 years, why was this one so special? Why this huge 800-year gap?
And that all comes down to something we call angular separation.
Meaning how far apart they look in the sky?
Exactly. When Jupiter passes Saturn, it doesn't always pass it perfectly on the same visual plane. Think of it like a race on a multi-lane highway. Sometimes they pass with a lot of lanes between them.
And other times they're right next to each other.
Right next to each other. And the vast majority of these 20-year conjunctions, Jupiter and Saturn, are separated by several degrees in the sky.
Okay, and the sources gave us a number that really quantifies just how close they were in 2020.
They did. They sat just 0.1 degrees apart.
0.1 degrees. That's almost impossible to visualize.
It is. To make that real for you, think about the full width of the moon in the sky. That's about half a degree, 0.5 degrees.
So the gap between Jupiter and Saturn
Was only 1/5 the width of the moon.
that is just mind-boggling precision. I mean, you can hold a pencil tip out at arm's length and the whole moon fits behind it.
And this gap was just a tiny sliver of that space.
Wow.
It was so tight, in fact, that observers, both professional and amateur, could see both planets at the same time in the same telescopic field of view.
You didn't even have to move the telescope.
You didn't have to move it.
Yeah.
Normally, you'd have to nudge it a little. Not this time.
And the fact that this unbelievably tight alignment happened on the winter solstice, that's just a cosmic coincidence that makes it all the more incredible.
It really does. But the real aha moment that the sources give us is the historical context.
This is where the scale of time just hits you like a ton of bricks.
It is. The 20-year cycle tells us about the basic orbit, sure. But the 800-year cycle, that tells you about the perfect geometry you need for this tiny separation.
So when was the last time it was this close?
The source material is very clear on this. To find an alignment that was closer and visible to us in the night sky, you would have to go all the way back to the year 1226.
1226. Just think about the world then.
It's staggering.
The sources are basically saying that entire eras of human history, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, all of that happened between that alignment and the one in 2020.
It speaks to the slow, relentless, and just, unchanging nature of orbital mechanics. We see these 20-year passes all the time.
Right.
But the perfect, nearly 0-degree alignment only happens when Jupiter and Saturn pass each other at the precise moment they are also closest to Earth's orbital plane. It's a 3-body dance that takes centuries to repeat this perfectly.
So when astronomers get to see something this rare, does it help refine our models? Or is it more of a confirmation of what we already know?
That's a great question. It's certainly a massive confirmation of, the Newtonian and Keplerian mechanics we rely on.
Yeah.
But observing extremes like this 0.1 degree separation lets astronomers constantly fine-tune their long-term models.
The ones that account for all the little gravitational tugs and pulls.
All the tiny tugs from other planets, from asteroids, even the solar wind.
Yeah.
An 800-year cycle tracked with this kind of precision helps make sure our orbital models stay flawless over, astronomical timescales.
It really takes the idea of being well-informed and just stretches it from daily news to deep celestial history. You're not just informed about today, you're informed about the cosmic timing of the last 8 centuries.
What's fascinating here is how a scientific spectacle like this It just inevitably triggers a sense of profound wonder.
Yeah.
Whether you understand the specific gravitational equations or not, the sheer scale of the event is awe-inspiring.
And that feeling of awe is a shared human experience, right? It makes sense that the source material would touch on how people interpret these things.
Absolutely.
When the universe reminds you just how small you are, your mind instinctively starts looking for some context, for some meaning.
Absolutely. And historically, the response was often to connect these precise, incredible celestial events to something divine or foundational. For instance, our sources mention a reference to Scripture from the Pearl of Great Price, which speaks to the idea that the heavens and the earth were created under divine direction.
And including that reminds us that long before we had telescopes and Newtonian math, humanity was looking up and just recognizing the impossible scale of it all.
They were.
They were using the tools they had, philosophy, math, theology, to try and wrap their heads around what they were seeing.
It's a moment that forces you to look beyond the immediate, to consider the vast, slow-motion mechanisms that keep everything in place.
It's the difference between looking at your watch
And looking at the mainspring of the universe.
No.
We are watching a clock that operates on an 800-year cycle, just for two planets to look perfectly aligned. And we saw that moment coincide with the absolute precision of our own planet's annual cycle.
The solstice. Okay. We've covered the mechanics of the solstice, the sun standing still, and the unbelievable rarity of this great conjunction. Let's try and bring this all together for the listener.
Let's do it.
So what does this all mean?
It means that the 2020 winter solstice was this unparalleled moment of astronomical convergence. We define the solstice not just as the shortest day, but as the precise moment the Earth's axis positioned the sun at its maximum southernmost point.
Marking the rebirth of increasing daylight.
Exactly. And simultaneously, we saw the culmination of an 800-year cycle, the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn.
And that conjunction, sitting only 0.1 degrees apart, a tiny fraction of the moon's width, was this monumental event that connects our modern observations directly back to the year 1226.
Affirming the predictable, yet absolutely astonishing architecture of our solar system.
All right, here is the final thought to mull over, and it builds on this theme of stillness and motion. The solstice is characterized by the sun appearing to stand still. It's the annual pivot point for life on Earth. Yet the Great Conjunction, visible on that same night, reminds us that the vast external solar system is perpetually, predictably in motion on cycles that just dwarf human history. So if you accept that the 2020 alignment was only the return of a cosmic appointment myth since 1226, how does the persistence of these celestial markers, the sun's annual pause, the planet's 800-year reunion, how does that change your personal perception of the flow of time and the true meaning of the word moment? Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.